Hello and welcome to this BioProcess International Ask the Expert webcast. I'm your host, Leah Rosen, the online editor for BioProcess International. Before we get started, just a couple of notes. This webcast is being recorded and will be made available for replay in the multimedia section of our website. We've muted the audio lines, but we welcome you to type in your questions for our speakers on the chat window on your screen. After the presentation, we'll begin the question and answer portion, and I will ask our speakers your questions from the chat window. Your questions in the chat window will only be visible to myself and our speakers. Thank you for joining us today. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speakers, Claire Tardy and Frédéric Bordes-Picard from Lonza.
Okay, my name is Frédéric, and I will be happy to start presenting you the Capsugel dry powder inhalation capsule portfolio together with my colleague, Claire Tardy. So first of all, I guess, why so much interest in the DPI today? Well, we should start with some statistics. COPD is now the third leading cause of death worldwide, and the number are still increasing, with an estimated of 65 million people suffering from moderate to severe COPD worldwide. And it's about the same situation for asthma, with about 14% of the children affected globally, making the asthma becoming now the most common chronic disease of childhood. And those numbers will continue growing as we know emerging markets as well as China and India will still have a lot of patients that are undiagnosed and not sufficiently treated. The pulmonary route as such is a very interesting administration route, obviously for treating pulmonary diseases as the COPD and asthma I just mentioned, because it allows to direct directly the API to the disease site while minimizing risk of systemic side effects, and it allows rapid clinical response. But we see now also a growing interest for systemic application in the CNS, cystic fibrosis application or antibiotics application. It's a very interesting alternative route to injections. It's actually applicable to both small molecules up to large biomolecules and proteins. And this is thanks to the large absorptive surface of the lungs. That makes it a very interesting route. And furthermore, there is a lot of potential for prolonged residency, allowing then also to improve potentially patient compliance. There is today a wide variety of inhalation delivery platforms. PMDIs, pressure methadose inhalers, are today the largest in volume and the most commonly used in emerging treatment. However, we see clearly a trend towards EPI, dry powder inhalers, for a number of reasons that we will detail afterwards. And today, DPIs are now representing the larger share in terms of revenue. I should also mention the nebulizer, although that tends to be limited to hospital treatment as well as targeting some very special patient population, as well as some newcomers such as the soft mist inhaler, which is a kind of new generation of PMDI. Let's take now a further look at DPIs and especially looking at capsule-based DPIs. One of the key benefits of dry powder inhaler is actually patient compliance. If we compare to PMDIs, there is no need for coordination between, for the patient, no need to coordinate device actuation and the inhalation as such. There is also a large option for connected device, potentially improving further patient compliance. If we focus on capsule-based DPIs, they are easy to use, that requires some commitment and also self-assessment from the patient, which is a positive to patient compliance. Cost effectiveness is also one of the key reasons why a lot more manufacturers and pharma companies now select capsule-based APIs that are easy to manufacture. They can utilize off-the-shelf devices, and there are now a very wide variety offered. Device as such can be adapted depending on the indication and the targeted patient population. And this is also the ideal platform to carry higher dose or different level of sophistication, again, depending on the indication. From a technical perspective also, DPIs are the ideal platform to manage drug stability issues. It's compatible with standard carrier-based formulation up to the new engineered particle through spray drying, for example. And it is now the ideal platform for combination drugs. And finally, DPIs are eco-friendly. There's no propellant, unlike the PMDI. And again, if we look at capsule-based DPI, the device can be reusable, and the capsule as such is biodegradable. So what is Capsugel Zephyr? Well, when it comes to DPI capsules, there's no one unique product. And what Capsugel does offer is actually a range of different solutions to choose from, depending on the project, the indication, the target population, and the market. As you can see, there are options, whether gelatin-based and HPMC-based, to actually meet the requirements of every single new project, whether it's generic or innovative. To actually guide the selection and help customizing further the DPI capsule, one should take a look at the critical parameters of the three key components of a capsule-based DPI. This is the device with parameters that are important along the opening principle, the resistance, the patient handling, the powder retention. This is about powder formulation, looking at particle size distribution, morphology, chemical stability of the active principle, hygroscopicity of the formulation, water sensitivity of the API again. And then finally the capsule, where we should look at polymer, dimension, weight, powder retention, water content. I will not name all, but all of these having an impact potentially on the optimal performance of the end product. Generally look at from the emitted dose, fine particle mass, or the overall particle size distribution. All our capsule specifications are gathered in respective technical reference file, while you will find all information related to DPI's capsules depending on their polymer. And in addition, as you may know, there are specificity requirements for the DPI capsule, basically two key differences. The microbiological specification first, where the purity has to be higher for DPI grade capsules, and the lubricant content residual, where we have a tighter specification again versus the lubricant content residual for capsules that are dedicated to oral delivery. And again, we will look in much more details into this. Now comes the time to look into DPI capsule performance in much more details, and that's when I hand over to my colleague, Claire.
Thank you, Frederic. So as previously mentioned, the capsule for the DPI application can follow different rules, and depending on the powder, the device, and the polymer, we will end up with different results, either in powder retention and in delivered dose at the end. So an important thing to be taken into account first is the quantity of powder that we want to stay in the capsule. And this is first linked to the lubricant level that is applied to the manufacture of these capsules. So on this slide, you can see that depending on the polymer that we use, it can be VCAPS, an HPMC capsule with a gelling system, VCAPS Plus, which is just an HPMC capsule, or gelatin capsule. The final powder retention is different. And of course, this is much different than the capsule for oral route, as previously mentioned by Fred, where the lubricant level is decreased. So depending on what we want for the patient at the end, the lubricant content will be key for the performance of the capsules. A second point that is very important for the choice of the right capsule is the LOD, the loss of drying, so the water content that will be present in the capsule, and depending on the API that the customer will fill in this capsule, the choice of the capsule will be key. We can provide with different range of LOD. We can have customized capsule just to ensure that the stability of the capsule will be what is expected, and we will make sure that the water activity of the system will guarantee that at the end the product will be safe for the patient. Changing this parameter for different water activity and different water content for the capsule will also add up to different performance in terms of powder retention. As you can see on this graph, we can see that there is some correlation between the quantity of water present in the capsule and the performance in powder retention. And this change in performance is mainly linked to the static effect. The more the capsule is dry, the more the powder will stick in the capsule. So again, depending on the API, the choice of the LOD might be difficult. So the capsule will be customized in such a way that we will guarantee an optimal performance for the capsule at the end. As mentioned by Frédéric just before, the capsule is not alone, I would say. It's linked to filling system and definitely to device that will open and allow the powder to be released. So the capsule mechanical performance will be also key for the choice of the best capsule. It was seen before that there is different type of device that will allow to open the capsule by puncturing, by piercing, or by just separating the body and the cap of the capsule. So depending of this choice, the performance will be different. And this performance is also depending of the polymer that we are using for the capsule. On this graph, you can see that HPMC capsules are known to be very robust, and this is what we will maybe prefer if the capsule will be stressed during the opening. For some other reasons, gelatin capsule can be preferred, and then we know that under very stressing conditions, very dry, then the risk of brittleness and particle detachment will be something to take into account. On this slide, this is somewhat some summary of what I just say before. You can see that there is different type of inhalation device in the market, and the performance of the capsule during puncturing or opening will be different because of the nature of the polymer and the nature of and the way of opening those capsules. So depending on the choice of the device, a capsule will be linked to this choice. So at the end, when we are thinking about inhalation capsule, we also need to think about inhalation device, because there is some combo, I would say, that work very well and those which are more tricky. So when the development is started, this is very important to take into account the device, the powder, and the capsule. So the Capsugel capsule are used to be tested on different type of filling machine with all the type of known equipment on the market with very good machinability performance. And during those filling trials, we have the possibility to offer our services. We have an expert in those equipment. We can support you when you want to fill the capsule, and then this will combine the three points that we just mentioned before, machine, capsule, and powder, to ensure that all these triangles will be well made. So I will give back the stage to Frédéric for the summary.
Thank you, Claire. So, well, let's take a final look at our Capsugel Zephyr. As we try to present, this is a comprehensive portfolio of solutions, because we believe there is no one ideal DPI capsules. We have a range of different solutions to choose from depending on the device, depending on your formulation, depending on the end market and the patient populations. And those capsules, not only they are high quality, but they are fully customizable in order to ensure that they will perform in an optimal way with your specific formulation. And this is, of course, valid and available to all drug developers, whether they work in the generic or the innovative markets. With this Zephyr portfolio, you will not only beneficiate from a broad portfolio of capsules, but also a lot of guidance into formulation development, properties understanding, and also inhalation device, supported by a full team of QA, R&D, BD working for your project. And I guess now that opens the Q&A session.
Okay, great. So the first question we have is, what polymers are available in Capsugel Zephyr?
So, Claire speaking. Or Frédéric?
Okay, I take this one then. In the Capsugel Zephyr portfolio, you have gelatin-based capsules, gelatin PEG, and also HPMC capsules, whether they contain gelling agent or not.
And what kind of samples are available?
Oh, can you repeat the question?
What kind of samples are available?
Well, to support the development process, we have a full range of sample size, starting with freely accessible R&D bottles, and moving on to caddies, which are the ideal lab scale or pilot scale format for the developers, and then going on to the full cartons.
And how is the compatibility with devices?
So So I will take this one. So yeah, depending on the device you will choose, as I mentioned, you can have some piercing with needles. You can have just a separation between the body and the cap. You can have some cutting. So depending of this type of device, we made some study just to ensure that we will propose the best polymer, HPMC, HPMC plus gelling system, gelatin, or gelatin plus PEG. And depending of the device and the needles or the different type of opening, there is the best things that we can propose. And the idea behind that is that we can propose the best candidate, and we will support you by testing, by sending you this type of capsule for you to choose the one which will fit the best to your device.
Do you have any data for the moisture content of an empty gelatin HPMC capsule shell?
So gelatin capsule, we are under standard condition, we are around 14% humidity, where with HPMC capsule, this is more around 6% humidity.
What is LOD?
So this is loss on drying. This is how we measure the water content. This is obtained thanks to pharmacopoeia requirement by putting the samples in oven, and after desiccation, we end up with the water content of the product. So this is loss on drying.
And how is the mechanical performance of the capsule measured?
So on the graph that I just showed, we used to stress the capsule under different RH, relative humidity, to ensure that we will try to meet what the customer might face. And then the capsule are stressed either by puncturing the capsule with some different devices, or by letting the weight falling on the capsule with internal specification. And from that, we know where we are in terms of mechanical properties. So this is both the robustness of the capsule and the ability of the capsule to be pierced or open or cut.
Okay, great. I think that is all the time we have for questions. So thank you very much, Claire and Frederic.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you to our audience for joining us. The recorded version of this webcast will be available for on-demand viewing on our website, and as a registered attendee, you'll receive a follow-up email providing you with a direct link. We look forward to having you join us at future BioProcess International Ask the Expert webcasts. Look for those announcements in your inbox. Goodbye.